on the Twitch would be a good idea. I always do this, like whenever we start the streams, I always don't have my phone ready, and it's always on like less than 10%. So I've just spent like this 15 or 20 seconds just trying to get my phone hooked up properly. Although that being said, welcome to Singapore. It's round 10 of the Premier Series this evening. You're joined by me, Tucson0208, and once again, after his extended break week last week, Natty's back. Would you like to say hello, Natty?
Hello guys, I am back for this one here at Singapore. Unfortunately missed out in Italy due to an unfortunate accident, but I'm all good, I'm not dead, and I'm back for the Singapore Grand Prix. 23 corners here tonight, and this race might be very interesting and decisive in the championship fight.
Yes, certainly. This track, Natty, 100% safety car record in the Premier Series, and we also have another bit of nice trivia for you. No driver has ever won 3 races in a row in the Premier Series. If Napula were to do that this evening, he would be the first ever driver to complete that feat, but we're going to have about 16 other drivers out there who'll be trying to stop his current run of form. Nonetheless, not even more, than the top 2, Natty. You want to take us through the championship standings at the moment?
Yeah, it's very close up front between Absolute 11 and Clash Daniel. 1 point separates the top 2, 147 points for Absolute and 146 for Clash Daniel. Further down, 4 points separate 3rd, 4th and 5th. F1 Lover, Froza and Napula, 91, 90 and 87 points. So it's really close up top in the drivers. And in terms of constructors, Alfa Romeo have a 30-point edge over AlphaTauri in 2nd, Mercedes 142 points in 3rd, so Alfa Romeo in a good position for the constructors, but AlphaTauri are starting to come back in this one.
Oh yeah, certainly. As we're talking about AlphaTauri there, Absolute 11 picking up a bit of damage in the middle sector. He is going to complete the lap though, so we'll stick with this one as he makes his way now through the final sector, coming under one of the most iconic corners of this track, where you go underneath the grandstand through this little tunnel bit, and into the final few corners, turns 19 and 20. If we're going to, 21 and 22, we'll go to 20 and 21 before 22 and 23 was going to be for the German. He actually backs off there, Natty, on the line.
Yeah, so Absolute 11 down to 41.9, so I'm guessing on those soft tyres he's going to want to start the race on the mediums, maybe getting a feel for the track conditions. I saw a few people do an outlap on the soft and then coming back straight into the pit, so it looks like a lot of drivers wanting to start on the mediums. We've got a few people out on track on the mediums as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how high they can get themselves up on the grid.
Oh yeah, certainly. We've also got a replacement driver in for this evening, Mikey, down here in the McLaren team, replacing Ted, who's unfortunately not able to make it, but will be replacing his fellow Irishman tonight, 2nd place in the Academy. Let's see what he can actually do here in the Premier. A very speedy driver at the top of the standings in the Academy, or near the top of the standings in the Academy anyway. So yeah, he's got some good pace. Let's see what he can showcase tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who gets pole position in this session and what tyres they qualify on, because obviously Cryptek last season with an amazing 1 minute 35.9, nobody really saw it coming from him on the medium tyres, was able to get pole position. Now we're currently on 36.4, so we're 5 tenths off last season's pace. So it's going to be interesting to see if pole will be on the soft tyres and go to track position, or whether the one stop will be the strategy.
I believe in terms of a Premier Series lap record, that was indeed the lap record held there. We've got a Williams that's gone off somewhere in the middle sector. That is GSY Bates on his Premier Series return. Has sat out the last couple of races, but he's back now, back to his full-time drive at the Williams team for the rest of the season. Yellows in sectors 2 and 3. That's a Red Bull that's gone off. Is that Thunder? I think it is Thunder. He's made a mistake down there, and he's had a bit of a Mahavir Raghunathan moment as he gets his car pointed in the right direction once again. But Thunder, who led laps last week in Monza, comes to Singapore, be looking to continue that strong form as Bonnie now goes and becomes the first driver to dip into the 1 minute 35s on the medium, so already faster than Cryptek last season, 35.6 there for the Englishwoman. Thunder now on an out lap. I think he's about to start a flying lap, so let's ride on board with the young Irishman. as he winds up now for his first attempt at a qualifying lap here in Singapore. It comes at you thick and fast this lap, so we're going to do our best to give you a nice commentated lap here. So Thunder over the line, DRS open, down into turn 1, use all of the track on the outside to open up the corner, carry as much speed as possible now into turns 2 and slowing the car down into second gear for turn 3. Short shift up through the gears as we head towards turn 4, keep the car to the left hand side of the track. Very nicely done there by Thunder. Go down into fourth gear for the next corner and use the curb on the outside. DRS now down the Raffles Boulevard, this small kink to the right before the next heavy braking zone at the end of the first sector. It's done the fastest of anyone in the first sector so far. Thunder 50-50, the ex Super League driver, has gone down into the academy this season. Let's see what pace he has as he goes through the middle sector now. Get this corner, but it's very easy to go wide and hit the wall here. Thunder executes it perfectly there though, and now down towards what used to be the Singapore Sling, turn 10, and ooh.
Wait, now Peter's had a crash at turn 2.
Oh. Well, I will try and get an onboard of a car that's there at the moment. Mikey's just gone past. What's the next car? It's a McLaren, I think it's Tiger. Let's see what's happened to Napula down here at turn 3. Oh, he's gone off into the wall on the right hand side there at turn 3. So sorry to take you away from the commentated lap of Thunder, but we'll catch up with him now on 1 minute 3.9 through the middle sector. This could still be a decent time here from the Irishman. Alfa Romeo head has just gone into the pits there on my screen. Ben Roberts now does a 1 minute 35.4 and he now goes fastest on 3 lap all mediums. And but Thunder now through the last 2 corners gets it very nicely hooked up. The front end really responsive on that Red Bull, but he's only in P5, 1 minute 36.6. I think he's got a lot more time to find.
Yeah, in this game,
he had another crash. Sorry.
It's just my baits out. Yeah, you only get 1 set of mediums, so that might have been Thunder's best time. He probably can improve, but whether the tyre life will let him find some more time. But a really good lap from Ben Roberts in the Ferrari there, 1 minute 35.4, already 5/10 quicker than last season's time. So yeah, it's definitely got quicker from last season.
Just goes to show the evolution of the drivers here at Gavra. Ben, who has had some decent pace in some of the more recent races, is really showing his stuff here under the lights in Singapore, this Southeast Asian city-state.
Yeah, we've still got a lot of drivers who are waiting until through the final moments of quali. Shankar in the pits and mediums, Castango as well on the mediums, and F1 lovers on a lap on the softs, Spanners on an out lap on the softs. So a few people on the softs. But got a good mix between softs and mediums here today.
Yeah, certainly going to have a bit of a divergence in strategy, it looks like, at the moment, but F1 Lover has done the fastest first sector of anybody. We've got a beautiful camera shot as he heads up towards the turn 10. Now, I kind of miss the Singapore, I don't know about you, Natty, but I miss the Singapore Sling.
Yeah, it's one of those sections of the track where you miss it, but it's kind of in a good way that it's not there, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's an iconic set of corners, to say the least.
Yeah, on board now with the F1 Lover, the man who manages all the social media stuff here at Gavra over on the Instagram, does some great work there. So we're going to commentate the rest of his lap now as he goes through the middle sector and into the final. Getting this corner hooked up is very, very important. He don't run too far over the curve on the left-hand side. Now down towards the bridged section in the final sector. Go down into second gear, up into third, down to second once again for the turn, and now into the final few corners, turns 20 and 21. He's invalidated here, Natty.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for F1 Lover. He's going to complete the lap, and you can see what he was going to do. It was going to be a 34.9.
That would have been rapid.
On provisional pole by 5:10, so really good lap. So that just goes to show what pace F1 Lover does have. It looks like he's going to go for another lap, even though he's got his DRS in 0, so he might be trying to rush back to the pits to get out and another set of soft tyres.
Well, absolute 11 here as well. Now just picked him up on the flying lap now, and a bit of a moment coming off the exit of the right-hander at the end of the bridge, but has also invalidated here, Natty. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers going for laps that do get disallowed. Froze has gone fastest in the middle sector now. We'll pick him up as he goes into the final sector, goes a bit wide there through that corner, now down into the bridge, down into second gear. Gets the car nicely turned in, the Dutchman in the Mercedes. Something we might be saying in the near future with Max Verstappen maybe moving to Mercedes. We'll have to wait and see. But through turns 22 and 23, Full throttle now to the line. What's going to be for Frozen? Goes onto the second row. I can't speak this evening, but he's on a 1 minute 35.8 on the softs. I think he might be looking for a bit more time than that.
Yeah, this is interesting because we're having similar results to last season. Ben Roberts and Bon Evil, first and second place, currently have done their fastest lap time on the mediums. Frozer and JB Salil on the softs. Everyone else in the mediums apart from Guillotine and Absolute 11, but I don't think that time is representative of what Absolute can do. So it's really interesting to see the different strategies in this quali session.
Yeah, it really is. And those drivers who go out and start on the softs, well, they're going to have a much shorter first stint than many of the other drivers who will be able to go long, go to a set maybe of the hard compound tyres and get to the end of the race. Yellows in sectors 2 and 3, I think that's a McLaren and that's Mikey going a bit slowly, trying to let another car go through.
Yeah, Castanwell appears to be on a good lap. He's matched Ben Roberts in the first and middle sector, so this could be a mid or even low 1 minute 35s if he can pick it up. Currently fighting for the championship, does have a penalty to make, so unfortunately can't win this race, but will try and do as well as he can. Up to the line, it's a 35.7, puts him in third place behind the AlphaTauri of Bon Evil.
And I think Cass might go again for that lap, although you may not want to risk the life of the tyres. It must be pointed out that whilst Ben Roberts did do that lap time, which was very quick on the mediums, they were 3-lap-old mediums, so he will be struggling, I think, towards the end of his first stint, certainly. Shankster as well now, who last time in the Premier Series didn't have the greatest of races at this track and his championship bid. But they're now back with the Mercedes team in this series, going through the final sector. Went purple in the middle sector. Let's see what he can do now. Gets very squirrely on the exit of the left-hander there. Now underneath the bridge in third gear. It looks a lot more hooked up from Shanks than many of the other drivers who've got to this stage in the lap. On board now with the German towards the line. Through turns 22 and finally through 23 now. Full throttle to the line. What's it going to be for Shanks? It's this front row of the grid, P2, 1 minute 35.4. Only a matter of hundredths there behind Ben Roberts.
Yeah, 300ths behind Ben Roberts, and the top 5 separated by 4 tenths. The gaps start to open up a little bit in the midfield, but we might start to see some quicker times as the track evolves, with the final 3.5 minutes left in this quali session.
And I'm just trying to see who's actually on a lap. Guillotine in the Williams had a very strong result last time out, or would have been even better if it wasn't for that tangle with Absolute 11 and Ben Roberts towards the end, and no further action, the decision taken by the stewards on that incident. Guillotine now making his way through the middle sector, has a bit of traffic in the form of Shankster ahead of him. Bit of a lock up there as well for the Brit as he goes past German in the Mercedes. Yellows in sector 2, that will be because Shanks is getting out of the way of us here, but now Guillotine going over the bridge. We'll commentate the rest of this lap as well in the Williams under the lights here at Marina Bay in Singapore. Short shifts now out of the hairpin to get the power on with no traction problems. Traction control obviously allowed on medium here in the Premier Series. It's gone very deep and he's in the wall. And I think that was a rear right lock up there from Guillotine. Has he gotten away with that with no damage? I'm trying to have a look here. Somehow now he hasn't got any damage from hitting the wall there. But it's going to continue and finish the lap. Let's see what Guillotine can do as he rounds the final few corners into turns 21, 20 and 21. And that wall there, one that Sebastian Vettel famously likes to hit on his qualifying laps, performs a pretty stunning images though as well. Guillotine goes into P13 on the 1 minute 37.9. I think that brush for the barriers might have cost him a bit of time there, Natty. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that would cost him a few tenths, possibly even a second on his time. So unfortunate for him, might not get round to do another lap, but yeah, has retired, so won't get round to do another lap. But Absolute 11, I didn't see what happened to Absolute 11. He went out on the mediums and has retired. It looks like his track is an AlphaTauri off.
Yeah, he has crashed, Natty. I think you're right.
Yeah, on board with Castanho. It looks like I think he's invalidated his lap, and he's not going to get time to do another one. So I think he's retired the car there. So that's really unfortunate for him in his championship fight, starting all the way down in 14th.
That is not what he needed. He will start 14th at best. And it must be said, Natty, on a 1 minute 41.9, he is very much at risk of falling back to the last row of the grid here. That does really not look good for Absolute 11, the championship leader.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw the two AlphaTauris last season not get the best of qualities, but they were able to make their way through the race. Didn't get the best of luck after the safety car restart either. But, so yeah, we know Absolute's a quick driver. He might be able to find his way through in this race. And it's going to be a long race, 31 laps. Definitely the chance of a safety car, like I said, 100% safety car record in the past. So we'll see what he does as he actually drops his 15th now. So it's not looking good for him in the race.
Yeah, really not looking good in terms of his starting position. Wolfie, though, on a lap, currently inside the top 10. This would serve as a much better qualifying from Wolfie in the Red Bull. Nearly on terms with his teammate, only 6/10 down. And now through the final few corners, what can Wolfie do in the Red Bull? Round the final corner now, flat out to the line. It's a 1 minute 36.9. So doesn't improve on his time. This is up by 1,000th of a second, and that will be his qualifying over. But there's only so many cars behind him that can actually take the fight to him now. One of those is Mikey, the replacement driver in the McLaren. He's locked up after the bridge, though. Managed to keep it out of the wall, unlike Guillotine did on his lap. And now the Irishman locks up again. And will that be this lap over? Doesn't have time here to go for another one, I don't think. So this will be the last attempt from Mikey to try and push himself further up the grid in his first qualifying session in the Premier Series through turns 20 and 21. It's not looking very competitive here for the McLaren, and he goes into the pits. He's bailed on the lap, Natty.
Yeah, Fraser was up by about 3/10 on his time before he invalidated, so that's going to be a minimum of 5th place for him, unless JMB Cyril can do anything better, and maybe Wolfie can move his way up in the grid. It's currently in a really good 9th place on those medium tyres, but as it stands, it looks like Ben Roberts is on for pole position. Cash Dane was invalidated his lap, so this could be a really good lap for Ben Roberts.
Well, let's look at F1 Lover, who out-qualifies his teammate here, Natty. F1 Lover goes onto the second row of the grid, 1 minute 35.6. That's very strong there from the Anglo-Ghanaian. And
Wolfie's the only driver left to not stand up, but it's gone really deep. Didn't invalidate his lap, so it's
he's very far down on his lap time.
Yeah, I've just seen his splits. But a really good lap from Ben Roberts. I think this might be his first pole in the Premier Series.
I think it is. That's 2 years in a row now we've had a Ferrari on pole here in Singapore. And well, last time it didn't go too well, but this time let's hope it goes a bit better. Actually, that's the second time in a row we've had a British person in a Ferrari on pole in Singapore in the Premier Series. It is just meant to be, clearly. So anyway, Ben Roberts takes his first pole position of the season. Shankster less than a 10th behind in second. Bonnie out qualifying her teammate as well. She will start third. F1 Lover likewise out qualifying his teammate in fourth. Cash Stengel in fifth. JMB Cyril sixth. Frozer seventh. Thunder eighth. Napula after crashing out qualifying, he starts in P9, and Wolfie in P10. Tiger will be the first car with free choice of tyre. He's in 11th. Spannel is 12th. Mikey 13th on his Premier Series debut. Guillotine 14th. Absolute 11th. Absolute shocker in 15th. Hope you like the wordplay there. Isaac Smart in 16th, and GSY Bates will be rounding out the grid here under the lights in Singapore. Tiger says it's him, he poos, he could have done a 36.6. That's unfortunate, Tiger, but they don't give out points for qualifying, so just come back in the race.
And yeah, this could be a really important race for Cash Dane if he's to come back at Absolute 11 in this championship. He had such a good start, did the AlphaTauri driver, but he's kind of been on a bit of a downhill spiral since then, but it's getting really close, and Cash Dane needs to get a good result to here if he's to retake the lead of the championship.
Well, yeah, if both of those drivers have a bad result today, it could really open up the championship to absolutely anyone. I'm thinking about Shankster, Ben Roberts as well down there. Frozer, if he can have a good result today as well, he'll be back in the championship hunt as we wait for the drivers to make their final setup changes over on the grid. Actually, a nice touch here on the F1 game. You can see that actually puts the driver names and numbers with the characters that they've chosen above the pit walls, which I actually quite like. That's quite cool. Yeah, going to have a final 20 seconds here in which we can talk strategy, Natty. Now, we saw a few drivers in the top 10 go onto the softs. They don't tend to last here for that long. So do you think we're going to see those drivers come in, maybe commit to an undercut or even a two-stop, and then try to get to the end of the race?
Yeah, well, last year was really interesting because I remember in the commentary you and Tiger thought Cryptek had messed up his strategy, and when I was in the party with him, he did mess up his strategy. He didn't want to do the two-stop, the medium, hard. But it somehow, he had the pace to do it, so it seems that tyre, when the tyres go off around this track, they do go off, so those soft tyres, they're going to be so painful to drive on after about 5-6 laps maybe. So the freshest medium and hard tyres are definitely going to be beneficial in the one stop. But this is Singapore. I would say track position's key, but overtaking hasn't seemed to be too difficult in the past we've seen.
Oh yeah, certainly. I think that's a very accurate analysis there. I've velocity in the chat. That said, it's Zexify saying medium to hard is the best strategy. Cash Stengel is a fan of number 69. That's a funny joke from the chat earlier. Then, thank you to all 37 of you tuning in. It's the Gavra Racing Premier Series here in Singapore, under the lights for the second time this season. And Tiger has the OP11. Yes, indeed, he does. Actually, whilst we're looking at that, let's have a look here at the drivers who have started on what tyres. And Tiger, very bold, has gone for the hards. Isaac Smart has gone for the soft. So Tiger going onto the hard tyres, that could come back to bite him if there is an early safety car, which, I mean, there's a 100% record here, Natty, of a safety car. It's a very, very high likelihood that we are going to have quite a huge crash and a safety car, and in the middle of the pack as well. You would argue that he's most at risk there. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad decision starting on the hards. I mean, I think if he gets damaged early on in this race without a safety car later, he could be pretty screwed at the end stage of this race, having to use another two sets of mediums. But I think that's what Tiger's going to try and do in this race, keep his nose clean for the first maybe 5-8 laps, and then when the other guys on the medium start to wear off, he will be able to push through.
There's a predicted pit stop strategy, then going in on lap 12 to 16 and going for the hard tyres. Those are the drivers on the mediums, the two on the softs. That will be a tough task, or it will be a two-stop for JMB, Surreal and Frozen. They're mixed up the strategies down at Mercedes, but here at the front, it's going to be Ben Roberts who leads us away from the pole for the first time this season. 35 people watching. Let's see if we can get back to the 70 that we had last week. Ben Roberts assumes his pole position slot now. Let's get going under the lights here in Singapore. Ferrari on pole. The Williams and GSY Bates will assume that last grid position. We're going to get to racing any moments now as the GSY Bates pulls up. His Ferrari teammate Isaac Smart stops there at the back of the grid. We're going to get going to 5 red lights, and when they go out, it will be time for the Singapore Grand Prix in the Premier Series. And it's lights out, it's go, go, go. Spaniel's jump the start there in the Renault, but it's very even from the front too to go down into turn 1 now. Look at Bonnie on the inside, is going 3 wide behind as well. There's some contact between the Renault and the Alfa Romeo, and there's an Alfa Romeo spun down there. Was that Cash Stengel? It was Cash Stengel. He's now down to P6. Virtual safety car straight away here, and we saw there the Renault spinning round Cash Stengel. It could have been JMB Surreal. He's dropped down now to 11th position behind the Red Bull of Thunder, but absolutely biblical scenes here off the start.
Yeah, Thunder and JMB Surreal both have wing damage off the start. I'm not sure if anyone else does. I think there was a Renault end plate of JMB Surreal's, but I think the rest of the grid... Oh no, Tiger's got front right end plate damage, so as I was saying at the start, he hasn't kept his nose clean. Unfortunately, starting in that midfield pack, and his strategy might be thrown out the window starting on those hards.
Oh yeah, and JMB Surreal and Thunder racing under this virtual safety car. They don't really want to be doing that, but that is not what Cash Stengel needed. It's still in the points as the virtual safety car is brought back in there. Ben Roberts leads us away. Ooh.
Absolute 11's also got wing damage, so this is huge in the championship. This would really open it up for the likes of Shankster and F1 Lover. Those guys who are fighting for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Yeah, certainly. And Shanks now really pressurising the back of Ben Roberts. The gap was 1.2 seconds, now down to just 0.6 of a second. The top 3 have all maintained their positions. It looked like Bonnie had Ben Roberts in the first phase of the start, but then on the run down into turn 1, Shanks was so much braver on the brakes and got the move done and back up into P2. Now under the bridge they file once again under the lights here. Will we see some team orders actually here now between F1 Lover and Cash Stengel? Obviously Cass has to overtake Frozer, who currently separates the two Alfa Romeos. He actually cuts turn 22 there, the penultimate corner. On the inside now of F1 Lover into turn 1. Does he go for a move? Has gone for a move down the inside, but F1 Lover with the later braking keeps it round the outside and crucially keeps P4.
Yeah, and interestingly, Thunder's the only one to come into the pits out for drivers who have wing damage. So Tiger, Absolute 11 and JMB are all opting to stay out. Now I think they're going to probably come in a bit early from those medium tyres, maybe like 10 or so, and really take the hard tyres to the end of the race. But for Tiger, he's going to maybe start a little bit longer to make the medium tyres work.
Well, Tiger finds himself in a very tricky position here, because if he does pit, he's going to be so far behind the rest of the pack that he won't be able to use those hard tyres or the fresh compounded tyres that he goes onto to really close that gap, as everyone else is also on fresh tyres, and he'll have to make another pit stop in this race. So I think Tiger now has to commit to that one stop on the hards, try and mitigate the damage, don't crash again and then get further damage or even terminal damage, and just try and get to that crucial next pit window.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. I remember last season getting damage early on. Thankfully, I was kind of saved by the safety car in the second half of the race, so that's what Tiger's going to need in this race, a safety car, as well as the likes of Absolute 11 and JMB Sirocco, who've also got wing damage. They're going to really struggle around this track with the wing damage, so yeah, it's going to be tough for them in this race.
Yeah, certainly is. My interval gaps are figuring themselves out. Frozer has dropped back a bit here from F1 Lover as well. He's now coming under pressure from his teammate, Alfa Romeo teammate, in the form of Cash Dengel, who is in the championship fight, currently 1 point behind Absolute 11. At this stage in the race here, Natty would pull a 7-point advantage on his championship rival.
Yep, just was riding on board with Wolfie there. Turn 18 has lost the front right end plate, hitting the wall on the right hand side. The Red Bull does decide to come into the pits to repair that from the medium tyres. Might go into the hards, and Tiger follows him in.
And Absolute 11 has stayed out with that wing damage then, so Tiger has come into the pits as well, as you were saying there, Natty. Absolute 11 then goes back up into the points.
So Cash Dengel and F1 Lover almost hit the wall on the left hand side, and the Alfa Romeo sweeps around down the inside, of the Mercedes and gets up into 5th place.
Strong move there from Cash Dengel, getting past the Mercedes. Now, as we were saying before, will we see some team orders here between the two Alfa Romeos? Frozer getting all kinds of out of shape. That's now Nackler on the inside into turn 10. Nackler on the inside of the Mercedes gets the move done nice and cleanly there. Does the finish driver on the Dutch driver.
Seems like those soft tyres are already starting to fade away for Frozer. We'll see what Spaniel and Mikey can do about it. The Renault and the Mercedes both on the medium tyres. So after already 3 laps, you can see the gaps now already about a second to Nebula, so those soft tyres already starting to go off here compared to the mediums.
Yes, certainly. And speaking of the battle for the lead, Shankster and Ben Roberts separated by 0.5 of a second. Shankster really putting his British rival under pressure here in the opening stages of this race. I think Shanks actually underfueled his car a bit here, got that yellow signal in the cockpit. We'll be telling him that he needs to save a little bit of fuel there. 1.5 seconds off, so they've kind of dropped Bonnie. Now 1.4 seconds back to the Englishman there in 3rd. It's an even bigger gap between... Froze goes into the... That's very early. So Frozer into the pits. Those soft tyres really haven't worked, and this is a 2-stop. A 2-stop then for Frozer.
It's a wing change for the Mercedes as well. That could be why he was struggling so much. So it might not have been the softs, but potentially the wing damage as well. So yeah, like you say, a 2-stop for the Mercedes, and it might come out around where... Let's see, Thunder knows it's not too fair. Thunder taking the wing damage, wing repair, so we don't have a longer pit stop. So Frozer coming out in 13th.
Quick question, can you have a DRS failure in an online lobby?
You used to in last year's game. I think they got rid of that in this year's.
Because Cass Stengler has just gone down the back straight, well within DRS range of F1 Lover, but he didn't open the flap in his rear wing. We'll see if he opens it now over the bridge. Currently behind his teammate. It must be said, F1 Lover doesn't seem to have the pace this evening. That gap is now 4 seconds between himself and Bonnie. It is open for Cass, so I just wasn't electing to use it there down the back straight. Oh, yellow that's GSY Bates. Bates is off at turn 10. And has to be careful coming back on the track here, because there's a Renault and a Ferrari with Spaniel and Isaac Smart going through that sequence of corners. Keeps everything out of the wall, but gets a 5-second time penalty there for corner cutting. But these front two here, Natty, Shankster and Ben Roberts, schooling the field at the moment, pulling away, now 1.8 seconds ahead of Bon Evil in third.
Yeah, those two have done a really good job to pull away from the rest of the field. Maybe we might see some team orders as here we go, Cash Dangle to the inside of his team at F1 Lover, moves up into fourth place.
Oh, Napula tried it on the inside, but F1 had it covered. And now Cass goes up into P4. Let's see what he can do about that gap in front. But look at Shankster now on the back of Ben Roberts. Ben weaving to try and break the slipstream. Shankster, the German, to the inside. Ben squeezes him, and now Shankster on the inside at the end of sector 1. Forces the Ferrari off the track, and Shankster now moves up into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. Great move from Shankster. It was bold, it was ballsy, it was successful. Shankster now leads this race.
F1 Lover as well, defending from the house of Napula, trying to block any cars that try to overtake him, to have an attack on his teammate. Here comes Napula, who's got a good run on the Alfa Romeos, where Cryptek and Jetsu crashed last season, and the house decides to back out, but F1 Lover's gone deep. Here goes Napula to the outside of the new Singapore Sling. It's their room, just enough room for the house to slip through there, down the inside of the Alfa Romeo, and up into fifth place.
Absolutely superb driving from both of them, although F1 Lover has picked up damage there. I don't know if that was from that battle or from before, but absolutely superb driving there from the both of them. Napula getting the move done up into P5.
And that battling has cost Napula 2.6 seconds to Cash Dangle, so I guess F1 Lover's done his job well respectively in order to give his teammate the best chance of winning this championship.
And they're going back down here to Guillotine, and now finds himself challenging the back, or being challenged, sorry, by Absolute 11, the championship leader, but it must be said for how much longer. And not looking too good for the German at this stage in the race. Lap 6 of 31, hasn't won a race, Natty, since round 4 of the season, and now at round 10. As a Mikey gets past F1 Lover as well, and somehow here, Natty, Mikey is in P6.
Yeah, really good job from him in the opening phases of this race. Started down in 13th, I think it was, so has gained 7 positions in this race already, and we're only on lap 6. Absolute 11 as well, up into 9th, Guillotine in 8th as well, so those two making up places from the start of this race. But it looks like Ben Roberts is just about to get himself outside of the DRS range. He's going to try his best to keep within a second for a few more corners. Has used up a lot of his overtake button though compared to Shankster, so all Shankster needs to do is kind of push in this final sector to get the gap to a second and see if he can control this race. And
yeah, in terms of your biggest movers and shakers, from lap 1 we've got Mikey going up 7 positions in the opening stage of this race, JMB Surreal down 8 positions, Wolfie down 6, as well as Thunder gets past Isaac Smart there as well. And I am trying to just sort everything out here really quickly. There we go. I think JMB may have picked up some more damage. Yellow to sectors 1 and 2. That's a Red Bull. That's Wolfie, sorry. Wolfie safety car. Wolfie has crashed on the back straight, and the safety car has been called out here on lap 6. Shankster goes into the pits. Shankster pits. Ben Roberts goes into the pits as well. Does Bonnie follow them in? She does. Cash Stengel. Will Cash Stengel follow them in? No, he stays out. No, does come in. Napula will pit as well, but what's happened to Wolfie there? Seems to have crashed in a straight line almost. And Ben Roberts has been held. Ben Roberts has been held in the pits, but I don't think it will affect him because Bonnie was so far behind on track. Cash Dangle as well now into the pit box. What will it be for the second place man in the championship? It's a set of the hard tyres. Ben went to the mediums now. That is a definite 2-stop.
So interesting from Ben Roberts. Napula as well for the mediums.
And AlphaTauri, they're not ready. AlphaTauri, they weren't ready for Absolute 11. And I think he's serving a 5-second time penalty as well. Horrible luck here for the German in Singapore. They put the new nose cone on. It's a set of the hard tyres for the championship leader. He now goes back out onto the circuit. Has dropped a lot of positions out behind Thunder, behind JMB's Surreal. I'll be touch and go as to whether or not he's in front of Tiger. Tiger going down the main straight at full pelt. Absolute 11 has now just been released from the pits, and it looks like Tiger will get that position. Indeed he does. You can see the AlphaTauri come out behind us there, so Tiger moves back up into P11.
Yeah, this is definitely beneficial for the likes of JB Cyril, Tiger, Absolute 11, Thunder, who all had their wing damage on the opening lap. We were saying how a safety car will bring them back into the race. It has done exactly that. But I was just before the safety car came out, I was just going to bring up the gap to leader between Absolute 11 and Shankster, because obviously he had that wing damage. And I think it was around 12 or something seconds, so he was losing a lot of time with that wing damage. And the safety car, despite him being now down in 12th place, it brought him back into this race.
Yeah, certainly, Natty, and that will be hugely beneficial for him in his pursuit of points this evening. But what that has done now for drivers such as Cash Stengel is that 4 or 5 second gap between himself and Von Evil has now been eroded away because of this full-blown safety car, which means the gaps between the drivers decreases, and now has to be right on the back of the AlphaTauri when we go back to green flag racing here.
Yeah, and this is probably going to be an interesting phase of the race, because last season we saw the two-stop was quite effective with Prix going for 2 sets of mediums hard for about 5 or so laps, and then back into the mediums. Can Ben Roberts show the same pace that him and Absolute 11 had last season, and get ahead of Shankster, pull out a gap, and then come back at him with a fresh set of hards or even softs towards the end of the race?
Well, we'll have to just wait and see how this plays out. I mean, Napler there has actually gone for the medium tyres. He started, of course, on the... No, he did start on the mediums as well, didn't he? So I think that's Napler going for a 2-stop. Oh yeah, indeed, he did start on the mediums. So drivers who still have to make a pit stop in this race: Ben Roberts, Napler, Spannel, and I believe that is it. So only those 3 drivers have to make another stop in this race. So Ben, as you were saying, Natty, has committed to a 2-stop in this race.
Yeah, so he's definitely going to have the tyre advantage on Shanks. It's whether he can get the move done with no damage, keep it clean for the next 15 or so laps, and then put in again for a set of hard tyres and really push to try and gain those positions back at the Mercedes drying line.
Yeah, I think we should get the safety car in this lap. Isaac Smart and GSY Bates will be able to catch up to the back of the pack, but Shankster had some great pace, it must be said, in the opening stages of this race on that medium tyre. Managed to get past Ben and up into the lead of the race. Let's see if he can keep it here now for the remainder of the Grand Prix. GSY Bates has caught the back of the queue, so he should go back to green flag this lap. Mike, though, must have said, has been doing a really good job on his debut, up into P6 at the moment for the McLaren team. The only McLaren in the points as it stands.
Yeah, you can't exactly call it a bad debut so far, up into 6th place as you say, so doing a good job. And be interested to see if he can keep up with the likes of Napolo and Cash Stengel on this safety car restart.
And yeah, we should go back to green flag racing this lap then. Not exactly had the... well, we've kept up that 100% safety car record then here in Singapore. There we go. Safety car will be in this lap, which means that Shankster now becomes the de facto safety car in the final sector. He will decide when we go back to green flag racing. He's done this many times before in the Premier Series, leading from the front here on lap 8 of 31, one of the longest races on the calendar here for you this evening, and hopefully it will be jam-packed full of action. Already has been, to be fair. We've got a safety car on that only 8 laps into the race. The gaps have been reset. The drivers now have a second chance to rectify those mistakes of lap 1. And here goes Shanks. Then as you go back to green flag racing, where has he gone? The safety car is pulling into the pits now. Shanks is slowing up the pack, just waiting. And he's gone. It's gone now. There we go. Back to green flag racing. Bonnie challenging Ben Roberts down the main straight. Cass is challenging both of them down the main straight. Then make a double overtake into turn 1. Gets the move done on Bonnie. Not quite got the move done on Ben Roberts, who goes wide at turn 1 and onto the escape road a little bit. And now Napler challenging the back of the AlphaTauri through turns 3 and 4. And on the dream start, the safety car restart from Cass. He gets past Bonnie now and only has 2 cars between him and the lead of this race as it stands. But Ben in the slipstream of Shanks looking for payback after that lap 5 overtake, but has to stick behind the Mercedes at this point in time. An absolute 11 here, Natty, on the outside of JMB Cyril. He gets the move done up into P8, and now I'll be chasing after F1 Lover, and things are looking a bit more rosy now for the German in the AlphaTauri.
I saw some end plate come off in the midfield. I'm not sure whose it was. I'll try and find it. I think it was a McLaren's, and it was. I think it's Tiger's front right end plate. So already that's 2 end plates lost. And for the McLaren drive, really unlucky for him on those medium tyres now. Picked up a 3-second time as well, just to rub salt in the wound. And that's going to be really unfortunate for him in this race.
And Ben Roberts is so much more confident on the brakes than Shankster into that corner. We were just on board there with the Ferrari. And a big thank you to Pope for subscribing with Prime for 7 months. A big thank you for subscribing for that long. And now Ben Roberts goes under the bridge, 0.3 seconds between the two. They've already gapped Cash Stengel by 1.1 seconds. So these two just have got some supreme pace here at the front. A German versus a Brit at the front of the Premier Series. That's reminiscent of Season 1 here. Pulling away from the rest of the pack.
And so there's more end plate off in the midfield. I think it's Guillotine's front right end plate. I think he lost it down at turn 18.
Yeah, he's going into the pits. Oh, he's lost both of his end plates there, Natty.
So, quite a few mistakes here tonight, unfortunately. A few end plates being deployed onto the track. Luckily, marshals in this game are able to pick them up before we get any punctures, like Bottas done in Baku.
Here comes Nightmare on Boniva now on the outside into turn 5. Bonnie doesn't even bother defending it. Nightmare now looking very racy up in P4 and pressurising. This is turning into a bit of a nice little rivalry here between Nightmare and Cash Stengel. Currently, Nightmare has that win battle 2 for 2 at the moment. Can he get past the Dutchman here and get after Ben Roberts and Shankster?
Shankster showing some great pace on those hards. Got an 8-7 gap to Ben Roberts behind him in the median. So for Ben's strategy to work, he needs to get ahead of the Mercedes and really push for it and gap the cars behind. So when he does pit, he doesn't fall so far down the order. But yeah, they've already got a bit of a gap to Cash Stengel behind. So it's working well so far for him.
So yeah, just looking back here at Naxton now through the final sector on board with the Alfa Romeo. What can Nightmare do now? He's not really a chance to overtake here. He'll be waiting for the straight. I think that Haas is running less wing than the cars around it. Cash Stengel really struggling here against the top two. That gap is already 2.7 seconds now between them as Ben does the fastest lap of absolutely anybody here at the moment. Nightmare down the main straight. Will he be able to challenge Cass into turn 1? Backs out of the move. Doesn't want to risk anything at this early stage in the race. Still 20 laps left to run here in Singapore.
And we might see a potential change for the lead if Ben Roberts can get a good exit.
DRS enabled.
Turn 5.
And now
he's close enough. He's not using his overtake button, so might wait another lap. He's late on the brakes. But here comes Napula on Cash Stengel, and the Finn gets his way up into 3rd place. And we'll now be hunting down the Ferrari of Ben Roberts.
Yeah, Napula not messing about tonight. He is now up into P3 and chasing down Ben Roberts and Shankster. Frozer getting past Tiger Assassin. I think they're in the battle for P12 as well. Does Tiger still have that wing damage? You have to wait and see. Yes, he does on the front right. So Tiger's still circulating around the course with that wing damage.
Here comes Ben Roberts now. He's close enough. He's got the overtake and the DRS. Shankster doesn't defend the inside, but Ben Roberts wasn't close enough to get the move done. But he's really pushing now in this kind of 3rd way through the race, almost pushing Shankster through turns 16 and 17. And this is allowing Napula now to try and catch up. 2.2 seconds. The gap is really coming down in a significant race. And Cash Stengel seems to be dropping off a little bit from those guys.
Well, this is the stage of the race now where Ben Roberts really needs to start using those medium tyres to get past Shankster and start to build a gap before he has to make that second pit stop. And that the pit 2-stop strategy window is now open on lap 12, but I don't think anybody will be coming in because we had that safety car on lap 8. And Bonnie now.
He's really struggling in this race.
Yeah, really struggling. Oh, with Williams off. That's GSY Bates who's gone off. No, it's Guillotine. Guillotine's out. Virtual safety car. We're using up our safety car allowance here quite quickly, it turns out.
It looks like he's went too deep down at turn 14. And I think he lost his front left wheel, so really unfortunate for the Williams driver. Joins Wolfie in the drivers who have DNF'd from this race.
So Gav saying in the chat that Napula should pit again. Well, it depends how long this virtual safety car stays out for. If it is a long one, then I think he should come back into the pits again, but it doesn't look like it will be long enough for them to get back to the pit entry. Should be going back to green flag racing anytime soon. Shanks is making his way now around the hairpin. And Napula's really dropped back in the virtual safety car, really respecting the delta there. The DRS is enabled once again off the virtual safety car restart, and nothing that Ben Roberts can do with that down into that corner. Still stuck behind Shanks as it stands.
Napula's gone really conservative on the delta race. Lost about a second under that VSC, now 3.4 seconds. The gap between him and Ben Roberts.
And it must be said here, Natty, Cash Stengel, he's really a cork in the bottle at the moment. Yellows again, that's GSY Bates. GSY Bates has gone off in the middle sector, but he'll be able to get back and underway. As I was saying, Cash Stengel really a cork in the bottle at the moment. Mikey and his teammate F1 Lover now queuing up behind him and try and rob that 5th position off the Dutch driver. And Absolute Levin's actually joined the back of this train as well here, Natty.
Absolute 11 coming back into this championship fight. As it stands so far, Cash Stengel will move up into the lead of the championship, currently in 5th place, but will finish in 6th if it finishes as it is now. And Absolute 11 is looking all feisty on the back of the other Alfa Romeo.
And looking at the front two here, Shanks has a bit of a moment on the exit of turn 5. Absolute 11's having a bit of a moment, getting past F1 Lover. They wheel bang after the DRS. So now F1 Lover on the inside, but goes deep. Absolute 11, the switchback of dreams, gets his move up into P7 and takes that away from Cash Stengel's teammate. He's now going to chase after Mikey and see what he can do about P6.
And yeah, really good move from Absolute 11, poking the Tetros and Wise Absolute so far back. Invalidated and retired in quali, started like P15 or something, and has moved his way up into 7th place so far. So it's been a good recovery drive from the other tower driver. Yellows in sector 2, I think that's Bates.
It is Bates, yeah, Bates heavy wing damage now.
Unfortunate for him, but Ben Roberts is still staying with Shanks in this race, and the gap isn't coming down as much as it was now between Napula and Ben Roberts. So the two leaders doing a good job to gap the cars behind.
Yeah, these two very evenly matched for pace out here at the front. It's Mercedes versus Ferrari once again. Round the final couple of corners now. What can Ben Roberts do? The DRS will fly open on the Ferrari into turn 1. I think he's just a bit too far away once again. Indeed he is. He's got much less DRS than Shanks. So Shanks with nearly 90%, nearly 100% ERS there for the German. Ben Roberts sat there on 40. So Shanks has got all the tools that he needs to defend from the Brit at the moment.
Yeah, this could Shanks might be playing a slight game with Ben Roberts, trying to make him use his ERS, make him use his tyres, so eventually he'll drop off in this stint and might not have the best comeback in the second stint. More yellow flags, I think that's Bates again.
It is Bates again down at the tunnel.
18. But Ben Roberts going quicker in the quickest in the first sector of anyone, so he's definitely trying to push for this lead. And well, they're gapping Napula even more, 4 seconds now the gap between him and Ben Roberts.
I think that just goes to show the pace of this front team. Nothing is stopping them this evening. But some strategy calls early on in the race could have major ramifications towards the end. If Shanks were to take this victory, it would be his first Premier Series win since Brazil of season 1. Just goes to show how long it's been for the German. And now Ben Roberts still looking at the back of that Mercedes that will be driving him mad now as he rapidly reached the midway point of this race. A major battle there. This is what I'm saying here then, that there is a real train forming up behind Bonilla now, it must be said, as Mikey goes wide going through that corner, as F1 picks up another 3-second time penalty in that battle, and Mikey's gone deep. That could allow Absolute 11 a chance to get past before we get to the DRS zone into turn 1, but Mikey's now dropped to 2.2 seconds behind Cass. Absolute 11 cannot afford to be stuck behind the McLaren for too much longer. He's had a bad exit as well. That could be all the invitation to Absolute 11 needs. Into turn 1, pulls to the inside on the rookie. Into turn 1, they're going wheel to wheel, but Absolute 11 gets the move done and up into P6. There's only one car between himself and Cash Stengel now. Well, there's no car, sorry, in between himself and Castengel now, and it's looking very, very good here for the German.
Yeah, so crucially, Castengel also has that penalty, which he was at the end of the race, dropping one position, so ideally he needs to get ahead of Bonneville, and as it stands on penalties, won't be doing that. They both have 3 seconds of time penalties, so he might be seeing absolute 11 in his mirrors, or will be in a minute, and think he needs to get on with it a little bit. He's now within the DRS of Bonneville, might start to push a bit on those hard tyres.
And yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know how to call this race. Cass doesn't seem to have any race pace at the moment. He's now out of the DRS behind Bonnie as well here. I don't know if you can keep us updated of their most recent lap times there, Natty, but it's not looking good for Cass at the moment. Really not looking good.
Well, Castengel's last lap was a 41.8, comparing that to Bonneville was a 41.9, so he's matching the pace of Bonneville, but compared to Absolute 11, Absolute's in the 41.6s, so it's looking good for Absolute 11. Castengel is starting to find a bit more pace now, might have found a rhythm in this race on those hard tyres. It's starting to drop a little bit now back behind Bonneville, so maybe struggling a little bit, but once he finds his rhythm, I'm sure he'll be looking to try and fight Bonneville for P4.
And Nipler now closing that gap a little bit down to 3.9 seconds now from 4.4. F1 picks up another 3-second time penalty, which could be crucial for the outcome of his race. It's now Frozer and Spannel. Sorry.
So I was going to say, Ben Roberts lost the wheel a little bit on the exit of turn 5, and he was getting so close to Shankster, and then just lost it on exit, so unfortunate for him, but he's going to try and have another go later on in the lap, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and Froze now looking at the back of Spannel here in the battle for P10, the last point, paying position. Froze are getting all kinds of out of shape on the exit of turn 5, and now down through turn 6 and 7 on the inside, and the Mercedes goes down the inside of the Renault. Froze gets the move done and gets that final point, but it's not over yet, because here comes Spannel now round the outside behind the tree into the middle sector, and now Froze keeps the move on the inside line, holds that line, and now gets himself up into P10.
Good move from Frozer, moving his way back up into the points. Meanwhile, Ben Roberts still trailing from Shankster. Is really using up a lot of his medium tyres. It's kind of hard to tell with the Shanksters pushing them this hard to keep Ben Roberts behind. He does have 70% ERS, so you think that he's kind of just controlling this race, making Ben use the tyres more in this stint. But I would say it's looking good for the one-stoppers on the hard side stand. Ben Roberts and Napula aren't really making too much of an impression on the hard tyres as they stand. Yeah, but yes, Napula's got that 6-second lead to Bonnie, but they're not gaining all too much on Shankster, who's got a mega pace on those hard tyres.
Yeah, mega pace. 4.1 seconds now between Ben Roberts and Napula. These two have just pulled away at the front of the pack absolutely sublimely here in the Premier Series. That gap between Absolute 11 and Castengel as well, kind of fluctuating around the 2.4, 2.3 second margin. Sorry.
And Vander's now into the pits on those hard tyres for mediums, so maybe we might see that a few leaders pitting in the next 3 or 4 laps. Thunder obviously pitted on lap 1 with the wing damage, stayed out under the safety car, so had slightly more worn tyres than everyone else, so maybe 13 laps on hards is as far as drivers are going to take them, but Shankster might surely would go to the end. Most hard taken.
You would think so, but he must have been tyre saving a bit at the moment. And GSY Basic his PS4 has just turned off. That's very unfortunate there for the Williams driver on his return to the Premier Series.
And I'm just looking at the gap to leader. If the front 4 were to pit, they'd come out in between F1 Lever and Frozer, so
yeah,
they will drop quite far down the order, and it'd be a lot of overtaking to get Ben Roberts and Napula back up into second and third position. There's
not really a pit window there for these drivers. Then they will drop back out into traffic, but that's the danger of a two-stop strategy. You accept that at some point you're going to have to start overtaking cars on those fresher tyres and get back up the order again. Ben Roberts picks up another 3-second time penalty. That will be 6 seconds now, I believe, of time penalties for the British driver. Indeed it is. In fact, we'll take a quick look down the entire pack here. So Ben Roberts on 6 seconds, Bonnie, Cass and Absolute all on 3. Prix, F1 Lover on 9, Frozer on 6, same for Tiger and Thunder. GS5 Bates racking up the most penalties on 14 seconds worth.
So potentially now for Ben Roberts, obviously he's not going to know where he's going to come out, and he might look at his MSD and tell him he's going to come out around P8, but he might try now use Shankster. Shankster might not know this. He might try and just use the Mercedes in front, get the toe down the straight. It's not battling too hard, and then just pull away from everyone, because he seems to be gapping the likes of Bon Evil and Napula. So maybe they're just going to use their pure pace and just go for it together. And then Ben Roberts will go out in the midfield.
Ben Roberts is running out of steam on those mediums now. The gap just briefly opened to over a second between the two. Ben doesn't have enough pace on those mediums, it looks like at the moment. Doesn't have an answer to Shanks' pace. Has gone very wide there, we were saying.
Thunder's back in the pits.
Oh.
He might have picked up wind damage.
Could have done.
And that's really unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. He's now going to fall quite so far back away from Isaac and Tiger, but Ben Roberts is now outside the DRS window, so maybe the hard tyres, medium tyres, are starting to go up a bit compared to the 11 hold hards.
Yeah, I'm looking down here at Cash Jungle and Bon Evil now. As we turn 22 and 23, Bonnie goes in. That's she's on the hards here, Natty. Bonnie on the hards goes into the pit lane.
So maybe Bonnie is trying to maximise the lap times on each tyre, because obviously he doesn't want to take those hard tyres to 60% and only...
It's a wing change.
It's a wing change.
I think that might be why she came in. So new set of mediums for Bon Evil, new wing and new sense of hope maybe to make up some positions in this race. She comes out in P9 with a nice big gap there of clear air between herself and the next car of Frozer. So she'll be putting the hammer down and we'll see what she can do. But Shankster has absolutely checked out at the front now. Ben Roberts 1.8 seconds behind. Shankster's gone. Shankster's bolted. Those mediums are dead.
Yeah. Shankster's not even using any of his ERS still. Still got 70%. He's still got the fuel warning light, so he's not. It's actually been. Doesn't seem to be burning a lot. He started the race with. He started underfueling his car from local lap, so definitely got the pace in that lightweight Mercedes, and maybe using lean mix to conserve the rear tyres.
Yeah, potentially there. So yeah, that's not gone too well there for Ben Roberts. I think he'll be into the pits this lap. Maybe for a set of the softs. No, Matt's for another set of the mediums at this stage. He stayed out, Natty. Ben Roberts stays out. But the gap's now 2.5 seconds to Shankster. He's lost nearly a second to Nakula as well in that sequence of stops. And if we go on board with Nakula, we can see that Nakula's tyres, if you look at the front right there, in much better shape than Ben Roberts. You can see that band in the middle of the tyre starting to form on the Ferrari. It's not there on the Haas.
I'm not sure if Ben Roberts made a mistake or it's the tyre wear, but he lost 1.2 seconds on that lap alone to his previous best.
Wow.
And 1.3 seconds to Shankster's previous lap time.
The gap is now 3 seconds between Shankster and Ben Roberts, and Napler is closing on the back of the Ferrari as well.
Absolute 11 as well has also caught up to the back of Cash.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even seen that on my screen.
Cash is now 11 seconds behind Napler. Obviously had Bon Evil in front, but Absolute 11 finding pace halfway through this race on those hard tyres. I think now it's time for the medium runners to come into the pits, do the final 11 laps, possibly on hards. I don't think the softs are a good choice of tyres.
Well, Napler has to go to a different set of tyres here, but I think he's trying to extend this stint, and there goes the softs. His tyres look in much better shape than Ben Roberts, or as it stands here on lap 20 of 31. Only 11 laps left to go in this race. As Ben Roberts come into the pit lane, he stays out.
So does Napula.
Well, I'm not too surprised by Napula staying out, to be honest, but Ben Roberts, he's just losing time out there, Natty. But I guess what's the alternative, though? Because if he pits, he'll be so far behind now, but he can't go to the end of the race, surely.
So it's going to be an interesting one. to say the least. I mean, those hard tyres are going to be dying at the end of this race. But I mean, from my personal experiences, the softs just haven't been a good race tyre around this track, so it's going to be interesting to see what tyres they go on. So,
F1 another in the pits and off of the hards onto the mediums. Bonivo, that's the fastest lap of the race. That could be an interesting statistic there for the drivers who are currently out at the moment. F1 is going to come out behind Bonivo but ahead of Spaniel, and again another driver in a nice pocket of clear air here. Let's have a look at the gap to leader. If Shanks were to come in now, he would come out in between Mikey and Frozer. Likewise with Ben Roberts. So Ben does have quite a nice pit window now where he can drop back out on a fresh set of medium or soft tyres and really just go for it.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be best for him. If Ben Roberts pits, he's going to, like I said, be in the middle of Mikey and Frozer, and will probably be 6-8 seconds behind Absolute 11, and on fresh hards or fresh softs, I'd probably go hards at this race. I don't really like the softs on this track, so maybe...
I know why Ben is staying out. Ben is staying out because he doesn't have he can't go to another set of the mediums here, Natty. He has to go to either the hard or the soft. Because don't forget, he started this race on medium, so Ben sort of has to stay out now. He can't come into the pits because they'll be on the hard tyres, and they don't seem to be firing up too well for the majority of drivers on the grid. You could argue that the only driver who's really made it work is Shankster at the moment, who leads this race by 4.2 seconds now.
Yeah, it's been an incredible drive for Shankster. Something I've just seen in the chat that we've just reached 700 followers on Twitch.
Woohoo! That very big thank you to everyone who's gone and followed us on Twitch. It does mean a lot to all of us here at Gavra Racing. Absolute 11 and Cash Stengel. The battle for the championship is happening out on track here in Singapore with 9 laps to go in this race. And these need to be sure not to take too much time out of each other, because the cars who are ahead of them and will be coming into the pits fairly shortly will be probably behind them on fresh soft tyres, and will be looking to close the gap and overtake both of them.
Yeah, I mean, last season we had a late safety car. I think it was around this time as well it came out, and I remember Jutsukev going onto the softs and they completely died at the end of this race. So I mean, we've seen Ben Roberts and Nat Buller have amazing pace in this race, and throughout the entire season we know what Nat Buller's like saving his tyres, so he might be able to get the soft tyres fired up better in this race. So when they do pit, both of these drivers need to go on to another set of compound of tyres. It's going to be interesting to see how far they go. Nat Buller comes into the pits.
Ben Roberts stays out, crucially. Ben Roberts stays out, so Nat Buller, this must be for the softs, surely. And that he should come out between Mikey and Frozer. Realistically, I think, or maybe just behind Frozer. But Natla then into the pit lane now. It is a set of the soft tyres. No wing change for the Finn. Goes back out onto the circuit. Will be behind Mikey. Yeah, sector 3, that's Frozer. Oh, never mind. He won't be behind Frozer because Frozer has spun it round at turn 22. Turn 21, sorry. Gets back going again though, with no damage done to that Mercedes.
That's absolute 11. The battle for the championship happening on track. Captain goes defensive, it almost hits the wall there. The AlphaTauri tries to go around the outside of the Alfa Romeo. They're still going to go wheel to wheel. Absolute 11 on the inside. Just gets ahead of the Alfa Romeo and up into 3rd place in this race, and the championship fight is now on.
And it must be said, that felt like it was a long time coming. Absolute 11 sizing up the move and getting past his championship rival out here on the track, just like we wanted to see. But now, how much of the gap can Nakula close on those fresh softs, as F1 Lover also gets past Frozer, whose hard tyres must be overheating now after that incident at turn 21.
Unfortunately for Castellano, he does have a 3-second time penalty, so we'll lose the position on track unless Absolute 11 picks up a few more penalties in this race. Now it'd be interesting to see if Ben Roberts comes into the pits, coming around turn 21 now, and does come into the pits, yeah.
So I think this will also be for a set of the softs. He'll be looking to cover off the undercut threat from the Haas of Nakla. Nakla now going through the final sector. Ben Roberts still limited to 37 miles an hour in the pit lane. And let's just go back over to Cass and Absolute 11, who are having a little battle as well. They're good now up into P2 and P3. Ben Roberts, it could be tight here. Napler going down the main straight. Ben Roberts is now released.
Has just been released, and here goes Napler to the outside.
Napler gets it. Napler gets it. Oh no! Ben Roberts 5-second time penalty for crossing the pit exit white line. Oh dear.
And that is so unfortunate for Ben Roberts. It's all going so well for him.
But now here, Natty, 9.1 seconds is the gap between Napula and Cash Stengel. What can Napula do about that? We only have 7 laps left to go. Look, I am sorry. Look at the lead that Shankster has. 21 seconds now over Absolute 11 and Cash Stengel in their battle for 2nd and 3rd position. This man has been absolutely untouchable tonight.
An incredible drive from Shankster this race this week, and well, Napula's going to be seeing that Cash Stengel and Absolute 11 both have time penalties, so if he can gain 6 seconons in total, which is coming down at a significant rate,
that gap's already come. I was about to say that gap's come down by 1.5 seconds already. We could have a very, very tasty end to this race.
I was going to say, if anyone else is having similar vibes to last season here at Singapore, with someone chasing down a guy for, well, the podium on a fresher set of tyres, I'm certainly feeling the flashbacks. But it's now come down to 6 seconds, 47.8 is the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, then he's going to get him. He's going to get him. 3 seconds on that lap alone. Game on. Game on. I don't think Castle Absolute 11 is going to be able to stop Napula here. I can't. He's just got such a massive advantage. It's now 5 seconds, the gap. And he's tagging Ben Roberts along with him as well now. Fastest first sector of absolutely anyone so far.
Here we go then, the fight is on. Singapore now known for its last lap dramas, it seems. 6 laps to go, they got 5 seconds, that coming down at a significant rate, almost a few tenths of a second here. Now 4.6, 4.5, will surely be 4.2 and then 4.3 in a minute. There it is, 4.2, 4.1, you can almost count the gaps coming down.
I'm looking at the battle for P10, the three-way battle now with Frozen going around the outside of Tiger Assassin, almost down there at turn 5, but Tiger's got a good exit now in the battle with Spanner, but here comes Frozen on the inside of the McLaren. Frozen getting past Tiger into P11. Can he get Spanner under braking? There's contact, and Frozen gets minor wing damage there on the front left-hand side of the Mercedes. That will be unfortunate for him. He'll now be struggling with that. We'll have to see if he goes into the pits once again.
Sorry, but the gap is just coming down. It's coming down like rain in the UK. It's just absolutely storming. 2.4 seconds now. It's been a great few laps from Napula here.
I said he was going to get him. I didn't think it would be that quick. The gap's 2.4 seconds now. That gap has just been absolutely destroyed. I thought that Cass and Absolute were going to have at least a little bit of breathing room before Napler was all over the back of them, but apparently not. 1.8 seconds now. It's only going up because Cass has got that DRS advantage down the straights, but Napler will have that soon as well.
And well, it's unfortunate for in terms of penalties, but Ben Roberts is also coming into this, only a second behind Napula, and these guys are all within 2 seconds of each other now.
Well, we're going to have a on-track battle. I don't know if it will be much of a battle, because I don't see what Cass or Absolute could do to keep these two behind. Don't forget, Cass also has that LLP1 grid position drop.
Well, we're about to see the effects of 18 lap old hards versus 2 lap fresh softs.
I think we are about to. Napler now has DRS on Cash Stengel.
So does Ben. Well, Ben Roberts has got DRS and Napler. We've got a 4-way fight for second place. This has definitely doubled since last season. To be fair, I think that was 4 or 5 cars in it last season as well. So this is insane.
Well, I mean, Napler now is close to the back of Cass, and Cass is to the back of Absolute 11. Napler seems to be running with less wing than the cars around him. He had some excellent straight line speed. Now, off the final corner, look at the drive. Cass goes very defensive early on down the straight, but that doesn't even matter because Napler swoops around the outside, back up onto the podium, and just like that, Cash Demo could drop back down to 5th. Ben Roberts is like they're in different classes, an endurance race or something, because now Ben looking round the outside, and there was nearly a monumental collision, but Napula now closing on Absolute 11 in the stitch with the DRS. Cass looking up the inside of Ben Roberts, doesn't go for it. Ben gets him done round the outside, yellows in sector 3, virtual safety car. And I don't know why. Oh, was that? No, was that Tiger?
Is that JB
No.
Surreal? I think it is.
Yeah,
It's going
JB
into the
Surreal. It's got no wing.
pits.
It's got no wing at all.
Oh, that's put a minor break in the battle for second place. Certainly cool things down a bit, but now in a great position with no penalties. The Shagster, 30 seconds
Wow.
in the lead of this race. He could pit for wet and still win this race at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, Shanks did want to have a go at the fastest lap. He definitely could at this point in time.
I mean, if you're watching Shanks, I don't recommend pitting.
Yeah,
for
don't
wets.
do that.
Yeah. But he might actually be in this lap, so soft tyres might go for the fastest lap. It doesn't decide to
No
risk.
point. Why risk it for one extra point when you've already got 25 in the bag?
But yeah, these guys battling, they're only going to extend that gap back front. Napula with no penalties, Ben Roberts with the most
And-
out of this battle.
Well, we're back to green flag racing, and look at Napula. You just got so much compliance from that car. Again, it's like they're in different classes in a Le Mans race or something. Oh, Napula. He's so much later on the brakes as well. DRS flies open for the Haas. Absolute doesn't even bother defending because Napula is passed and back up into second place. And just like that, Natty, that's that. Napula's back into P2.
He's gone from 5th to 2nd in a matter of minutes here. And yeah, see what Ben Roberts can do in Absolute 11. I think now Ben Roberts looking at his penalties, he'll be trying to just gap as much as he can to try and pull out an advantage to stay ahead of Johnny Evil, who has 3 seconds of time penalty, so we need to pull out a bit of a gap though.
Oh, sorry, Ben Roberts nearly went careering into the back of Absolute 11 for the second time in a row in Singapore. Absolute 11 nearly had a Ferrari introducing itself in its cockpit. But
Not the first time.
yeah. On lap 28 of 31 here in Singapore. Oh, Ben Roberts, it's a matter of time really, it's a formality, as when he'll be getting past Absolute 11 now on board with the Englishman down the back straight. Will he make a move into the next corner? I'm getting flashbacks of last season, Nathan, and I really don't like it.
I'm also getting flashbacks of last season and I'm not even driving. I'm watching a Ferrari against Absolute 11 here. But though Ben Roberts has shown great pace throughout this race, Absolute 11 though, you can't take anything away from his comeback drive, making up 12 places in this race after invalidating and retiring from Wally. And he's had so many impressive drives this race, I don't think you can take it away from anyone. Shankster with this massive lead, Absolute 11 making up those 12 places, Napia on his pace as well.
The closer Ben Roberts gets to the back of that AlphaTauri, the more I think there's about to be a monumental collision. He's pushing Absolute 11 through turn 5. That's how much grip he has. I don't think Absolute will defend this. Ben Roberts now on the inside, down the Raffles Boulevard, and gets past the AlphaTauri, or does he? Yes, he does. Absolute 11 pulls back in to the slipstream under braking. Just has to keep within that 11-second window, really, to Ben Roberts, and he will still gain that 14-second window. Never mind. Yeah, Ben Roberts picking up 14 seconds of penalties. I don't think he's going to finish on the podium here.
Yeah, it's unlikely, but anything. Well, we've still got 2 laps to go. Anything could, in theory, happen. Absolute 11 could crash at this with the hairpin right here. Doesn't do, so no commentators cursing tonight, it seems. But in terms of Clash Daniels Championship fight, with that LLP penalty, he's going to be dropped down to 6th place. So Absolute 11 will extend his championship lead. Not by much though, but points are points at the end of the day.
Yeah, that 30 of 31 then. Ooh. Shanks has caught some traffic here. Oh no, of course it's ghosted. No, ignore me, sorry. I thought that we were going to have some intrigue on the last lap of the race, or the penultimate lap of the race even, but yeah, as you were saying, Natty, Shankster has driven wonderfully tonight. Absolutely brilliant. I can't find a fault in that drive. Beautiful stuff from him. Less than a 10th off pole. Has led every lap from lap 5. Can't fault it. Can't really fault it.
Defended. I was going to say defended beautifully from Ben Roberts, but it didn't seem that Ben Roberts put him under enough pressure. Yes, he was still there, but it seemed that Shankster just had the pace to comfortably keep him at a 4-10 gap behind.
Oh yeah, actually here, Natty, Bon Evil, closing on to the back of Cash Stengel now with 2 laps left to go in this race. Thank you to all 35 people who are still tuned in with us here in the Singapore Grand Prix on the penultimate lap. Bon Evil now finds herself only 2.4 seconds behind Cash Stengel. Could she relegate Cass 1 more position in this race? Really just rub salt into the wounds here?
Yeah, looking at penalties as well, so as things stand, Cash Stengel will finish down in 7th place with both in-game penalties and LLPs.
That's not looking too good.
This race, we were saying how it looked good for Cash Stengel in this race, and 30 laps later.
Well, they were talking about driver of the day, Absolute 11 as well. He had a barnstorming performance coming up from P14 on the grid to now go back onto the outskirts of the points.
Yeah, definitely. I think the top 4, you can't fault any of their drives tonight. They've all been amazing in their own ways. Obviously, Shankster is leading this race by 20 seconds. Napula with his amazing 2-stop strategy. Ben Roberts in the open phases as well. Absolute 11 making up places in this race.
Thunder! JB Surreal, they make contact! Sorry, Nancy, in the battle for 12, JB Surreal swoops round the outside now. But that was very, very physical between those two in their battle there. And the JB Surreal coming back at Thunder there on fresh softs. And yeah, got a bit lively there. Something to watch, I guess. But, ooh, Cash Stengel on Absolute 11 on the last lap of the race here. Will he go for a move down the inside? Maybe. No, he won't. But let's go back up here to Shankster. Only 1 sector now separates himself between his first win of the season in the beautiful W11. Round the final sector for the last time this evening. He has been faultless today. A 20-second margin, the biggest winning margin of the Premier Series this season. Underneath the bridge for one final time. Only 4 corners left between Shankster and the win here through turn 20. Through turn 21 now, and for the first time since Brazil of season 1, Shanks is going to round the final corner. He's back on top in the Premier Series. Shankster wins the Singapore Grand Prix. It will be Napula, it looks like, will follow him home on the podium in 2nd position for his 3rd podium finish in a row for the British driver. That will be an absolutely barnstorming effort from him as well. Made the 2-stop strategy work. He crosses the line for 2nd position. It will be Ben Roberts in 3rd for the moment, but we'll have to see how that works out with penalties now. Absolute 11 crossing the line, and it will be Absolute on the podium. Ben Roberts drops to 4th. Cass goes ahead of Ben Roberts as well. Where will F1 number be? This will be crucial for where Cass finishes in this race. I think the top 5 or 6 will stay like that. F1 comes across the line for P7. Mikey, in his first ever Premier Series race, finishes in the points in P8. It looks like it will be Frozer who comes across the line in 9th ahead of Tiger. He scores points after starting in P11. Getting past Spaniel there as well. Oh, Frozer's in the wall! Frozer's in the wall, now Tiger could get P9 here. On the final few corners of the race, Frozer's got no wing anymore. No front wing for Frozer. Is that Frozer going slowly? Now Tiger looking for the move. He's going to get it done. Tiger does get it done. Tiger gets the move done on Frozer. Tiger finishes in P9. Frozer finishes in P... Oh no, never mind. Frozer has less penalties. But what an end to that race. A fantastic drive from Shankster. Absolutely faultless. He takes the win here. His first win since Brazil Season 1. I hope he's massively happy with that. Absolute 11 getting the in-game driver of the day. Shankster winning the chat vote driver of the day by a 100% margin. Absolutely flew around the Singapore street circuit tonight, and he will claim his first win of the season. That will be good for him in the championship. It has not been the best evening for one Mr. Cash Stengel, but still saying GG in the chat. So great sportsmanship there from him. But a great race from the Premier Series, and hopefully we can continue it tomorrow at 8:30 for the Super League, the fastest drivers on F1 in Gavra Racing. Be sure to tune in to that tomorrow, where a Tiger and a commentator, I assume it will be Byron, because it's always Byron now, will be taking you through all the Super League action then. So finally, from this race, Shankster taking the win. Nakula in second with the fastest laps, will be getting 19 points there for that second place finish. Absolute 11 makes it 2 out of 3 Germans on the podium in third. Bonivel in fourth. Cash Stengel will drop to sixth after that LLP1 penalty. He'll be behind Ben Roberts. Mikey scoring points in seventh. F1 Lover down in eighth. Spannel in ninth. Frozer in 10th. Tiger actually finishing outside of the points on penalties in 11th. JMB Surreal a lap down in 12th. Thunder in 13th. Isaac Smart 14th. GSY Bates 15th. And then our two DNFers, Guillotine and Wolfie, rounding out the grid. But a bit of a quiet race, a bit of a come down from the madness which was Monza, but that won't matter to Shankster whatsoever. Absolutely faultless drive to the win tonight. Let's see if it's the first of many this season.
Yeah, definitely. Back on the top step, as you say, for Shankster. The gap now at the top of the championship extends to only 6 points, so it's still really close between Absolute 11 and Cash Stengel. Actually, that is a lie. It will be about 8 points, I think, because Cash Stengel will
still close.
Demote himself, or not demote himself, but it will be demoted one position in this race. So it's still really close and all to play for, and really close in both constructors as well.
And yeah, definitely closing up the gap in both championships. But be sure to join Tiger, and I'm assuming Byron, tomorrow for the Super League. Tomorrow at 8:30, same time, same track. And then join Isaac Smart and Ben Roberts, one of our drivers from tonight, for the GT Sport Group A action, coming to you with Group 2 cars from Suzuka on Saturday. I don't believe the Assetto Course League has started yet. That will be next week. I think, and then on Sunday I think we also have anything going on. But for the next 2 days, enjoy some Gavra Racing action. But from me and Natty and from the team tonight, it's going to be goodbye, and we'll see you next time out, or I believe we're in Mexico, I think, or USA, one of the two.
USA, I think.
USA, alright, well, either way, we'll see you next week, guys. Thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.